This video is brought to you by NordVPN. So it's that time of year again when people are going to be writing new goals, starting new training programs, etc. But wouldn't it be cool if instead of following a cookie cutter workout, you instead came up with your whole own training style? I believe that by drawing from a massive pool of different training styles and taking what works for you, you can create something completely unique and perfectly customized to you and your goals. And as an added bonus, it's going to be something that you actively enjoy doing. Obviously, this is something that not a lot of people are going to know how to do if they're starting out in training, and so that's the purpose of this video. Here, we're going to learn how to create your own training style, something that you're really going to stick with so you can properly kick ass in 2023. So the first thing you're going to want to do is sit down and write out your goals. What is it you hope to achieve from your training program? There's lots of different things you could put here. It could be that you want to look better, so aesthetics. Maybe you want to be stronger. Maybe you want to be more athletic, whether that means more explosive or whether you want to improve your endurance. You might just want to move better. You might want to prevent some of the downsides of aging, or you might have any other number of goals. What I'd say is don't just put down one goal, put down as many as you want, because there's no reason you have to choose just one outcome for your training. And I think this is a common misconception. A lot of people think, for example, that you can't train for max strength and aesthetics, for instance. However, power builders would beg to differ. So write down as much as you want and perhaps try and grade them in terms of what's more important to you. Do you really want to be massively strong and you kind of want a bit of endurance as well? Or are these things about equal footing? My car got recalled, so I've had to come here to Kidlington to drop it off. Trying to find some spots to do some filming, and I found a canal, so that's cool. From there, what you're going to do is look for a kind of base training style, so one that matches most of your goals. So for example, if you're more interested in building strength, then you might start with a powerlifting program. If you're more interested in building strength to weight ratio, then you might start with a calisthenics program. If you're more interested in movement and mobility, then you might start with a movement training program. And then this is going to serve as your kind of baseline, and you're going to build off of this from there, swapping out the things that you do and don't want to create something more personalized to you. When you're browsing the web, researching different training modalities, it's important to stay protected, and that's why NordVPN can be such a powerful tool for anyone who does a lot of research online. So NordVPN is today's sponsor. It's a VPN. You've heard me talk about them before. A VPN is a virtual private network, and what this means is that you can relay your traffic via a server located elsewhere, thus obfuscating your location and your information, hiding it from your ISPN, as well as anybody who might be trying to watch what you're doing. Now this is useful for multiple reasons. For one, it allows you to browse content that might otherwise be restricted in your region, but more importantly, this is also really good for security. So a great example of how this might protect you is in the case of a man-in-the-middle attack. In a man-in-the-middle attack, you might be connected to what you think is the coffee shop's Wi-Fi, when in fact you've accidentally connected to a fake Wi-Fi set up by a hacker sitting in the corner of the room. Fortunately, if you use a VPN, then all your traffic is going to go straight to that server, and they're not going to be able to see anything else other than that. They won't see your passwords, they won't see what sites you browsed, and you'll remain completely safe. NordVPN is actually the fastest VPN according to the latest speed tests too, so when you're ready to get started, go to nordvpn.com to learn more, and if you use the link in the description down below, you'll be entitled to 4 months free, as well as 30-day money-back guarantee. So check it out, and thanks once again to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. So in a surprise twist, my car was actually ready really early, so I was able to go and collect it. I've changed into my gym gear, and I've come to the really nearby Kirtlington, which is a beautiful little place actually, and I've trained here before, but I understand there's actually a park here as well, which I've not seen before, so gonna go and check that out, and we'll carry on here, shall we? So now you have your foundational training program, and what you're going to do from here is going to look at it and think, which of my goals does this accomplish and which ones is it not so useful for? So for example, let's say that you were interested primarily in building aesthetics and muscle, so you chose a bodybuilding training program, perhaps a conventional bro split. But you also want to be able to do the planche. That's one of your other goals. Well, it's going to be tricky to be a bodybuilder who can planche because you're going to be a lot heavier, but it would be really cool. So why not shoot for the stars? You're going to find that that bodybuilding split doesn't have much for straight arm strength training because that doesn't really benefit bodybuilders. So if you want to train for planche as well, you simply find some straight arm exercises, things like pseudo planche push-ups or tuck planche holds, something like that, and then you put them into the program. What you're not going to do though is simply add them onto the program, because you've got to think about things like fatigue, you've got to think about how many hours there are in the day. So in this case, you might look at your bodybuilding program and you're going to have to make some compromises, and you might think, what can I afford to lose? And I'd say that if you're doing straight arm training, you maybe don't need quite as much for your biceps. You can probably drop a few of the sets of bicep curls. Maybe you don't need to do as many chin-ups, for example, because straight arm training will also provide some bicep size, and this is why gymnasts have famously such massive biceps. Or if one of your goals is to learn a handstand, then maybe you're going to throw in some handstand training or some pike push-ups and replace your military presses or some of your dumbbell presses. Not all of them, but some of them. To do this successfully though, you need to do your research obviously, and you need to learn what different exercises are for and what they do. Look at which muscle groups they target, and then try and find equivalents in different training modalities. So if you are tired of doing your seated rows, for example, then perhaps you're going to do some arched back pull-ups to target those same back muscles. I will say as well, make sure you're not limiting yourself in terms of the different pools of exercises you draw from. There are so many different modalities out there. For example, I've been doing standing like a tree, which is actually from Qigong. I do Mabu, that's horse stance, that comes from Kung Fu. You can pick exercises from dance, from parkour, from gymnastic strength training, from any kind of athletics. There's so many options out there, so don't limit yourself. You will as well, of course, have to think about programming and how to progress these exercises over time. So for example, if you're doing the planche holds, you're going to want to increase the hold time over time, maybe move through more difficult progressions. That's different than just adding weight to, say, a bench press. So if you don't know how to do this, then you need to watch some YouTube videos, do some research, or alternatively look at other programs that do incorporate those moves, and then kind of smush the two programs together to create something new. This is why I also really appreciate bang for your buck exercises, those exercises that provide multiple benefits all at once. So if you take something like a rope climb, this isn't just great for your lats, it's also great for your biceps, also great for your core, especially if you do it with an L-sit position, also great for your grip. Something important to understand here is that you're always going to be making some compromises here, particularly with bang for your buck exercises. Of course, by doing an exercise that combines multiple movement patterns into one, you're not going to be reaching fatigue in as many of those patterns. This is where you decide if you want to be a broader athlete, an all-rounder, or whether you want to hone in on something more specific. And you're going to find over time that you gravitate towards a program as you find that perhaps you're doing a little bit too much, or perhaps you've got a little bit of space to do something more, maybe you enjoy one thing more than the other, and you're going to add and take away things from there. So it doesn't have to be perfect right away. When it comes to combining something like a form of cardio with powerlifting, it pays to think about which types of cardio complement other types of training. So for example, walking can be great for powerlifting or bodybuilding because it helps to circulate blood without creating a lot of cortisol, a lot of myostatin. Similarly, resistance cardio is also very good. That means any form of cardio where you're pushing against some form of resistance or pulling some form of resistance, things like battle ropes, heavy bag training, and high intensity interval training is also really good use as a finisher. And that's another great way to combine cardio with something like powerlifting or bodybuilding, is to use it at the end of your workouts as a finisher. If you plan on combining things like cardio and heavy lifts, then there's a simple methodology to follow. You just want to place the more technical lifts and movements, things like planche and hand balancing, along with any highly neurologically taxing movements, very heavy movements, compound movements like bench press, squat and deadlift. They're going to go at the start of the workout when you're fresh, obviously after your warm-up or your warm-up set. Then as you move through the workout, consider it like a spectrum, moving on to supported single joint movements and closed chain movements, things like high repetition push-ups and pull-ups, things like machines, and then right at the end, of course, you can switch all the way back to cardio and resistance cardio. Well, I'm losing light now, guys, so I'll end on this final note, and that's to think about what kind of training, what exercises and modalities you enjoy. It's not just about your goals. You want your workouts to be intrinsically motivating as well, so that you enjoy doing them. That's how you want to feel about your own training style. You want it to be uniquely you. You want it to reflect your personality, your body, the way you move, and by choosing things you gravitate towards, not shying away from your weaknesses, mind, just training in ways that you enjoy, you're going to achieve that. So if you found this video useful and interesting, guys, if you did, then please leave it a like and share it around. That really genuinely does help me massively. If you enjoy this kind of training that combines multiple modalities into a single hybrid style, you might enjoy my ebook and training program, Super Functional Training 2.0. That comes with over 2 hours of instructional video, and I recommend you use that by looking at the different training styles and mixing and matching them into your own workout, not just following it blindly. There will be things you like, things you can easily do, and things you don't like so much or don't have the facilities for. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the new year. Bye for now, and Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate it. Happy holidays to everybody else. Have an amazing one.